Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely. That's
I
it.
know.
It's absolutely acceptable.
Amida, that's what it is.
All
Rabbi,
right.
I keep trying to elevate this thing that's going on at work, and I was working really hard today to elevate it so, it wasn't mundane. I'm thinking of the tzedakah I give and everything, and the things I want to do, and it's just to the point where I just pray Hashem would bless me with a lot of money so I could just retire. I'm sorry.
Bezrat Hashem, Bezrat Hashem. God, listen. Today is Yitas Kislev. Yitas Kislev. The Rebbe. There's a quote from I think the Alter Rebbe. He said it's like Yom Kippur. Anything you ask for, you could get. So today is the day to make a special prayer for anything you need in health, in wealth, in growth in Torah. Hold on, Aaron. In growth in Parnasa. We can get to the Sikh in a second. Yes, Aaron.
The rabbi that I go to the shul on Shabbos and so he said the whole reason you want to ask for money is so that not just you're going to retire, but then you have more time to study Torah.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. I was on medical leave from September to the whole month of October. And I'm telling you, October was so sweet because there was no interference with the high holy days and doing all this other stuff. And I got to think, you know what? It would be so nice to be able to do this and, not have to worry about anything. So anyway.
Well, God should bless you. God should bless you, Barbara, and for all the good deeds you do and the learning and the sponsoring of Torah. And again, Yitas Kislev is an auspicious day for blessings. All right, Chevra, let's go to the Sikha. We're learning. Oops, did I print? I printed the wrong one. Okay. Either way, I'm reading it off the computer. Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev, Chuf Kislev, the 20th Kislev, like this year, Tafshin Yud Zayin 1956, 57, depending on the English date. So this is mamish like this year, meaning to say that tonight Yitas Kislev is Friday, and Chuf Kislev, which is the second day of the celebration of the liberation of the Alter Rebbe, is on Shabbos. Bisvadis Yitas Kislev Lifnei Esrim Shana. So the Rebbe says in Tafshin Yud Zayin, so 20 years would be Taf Reish Pei Zayin. So it'd be 57, 40, 37. So in the year 1937, Siper Kvoikders Marachami Admer, my father-in-law told me, the previous Rebbe was still alive. Obviously, he passed away in 1950. So in 1937, he was still alive. And he says, my father-in-law told, I guess, at a Yitas Kislev Fabrengen, Oides Haseidish Shahaya Eitzel Admer Zaken Yitas Kislev Taf Kuf Samach. How did the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe Chabad, so to say, establish himself or conduct himself on the 19th of Kislev in the year Taf Kuf Samach, which I'm going to try to guess quickly is 1810, I think. Kloimar. B'yuntas Kislev Arishan Acher Geulas Admar Zaken, which is the first year after he was redeemed. So he was redeemed on the 19th of Kislev the year before. How did he celebrate, or how did he conduct himself in the first year after the Yutas Kislev, means celebrating the first anniversary of his freedom? So the Rebbe continues, Beglal Teichna Shalageres HaKodesh Kantainti. The Rebbe says, if one analyzes, there's a letter that the Alter Rebbe penned that's in the letters of Tanya, in this third section, the Egeres HaKodesh. That is, he wrote a letter Kantainti about that the Chassidim should humble themselves, and the miracle, and the Alter Rebbe is writing about his humbling moment in the miracle God did perform for him in the redemption of Yitas Kislev. Shekasev Admar Zaken Acher Bias Mi Petersburg. This is a letter the Alter Rebbe penned after he came from Petersburg, which is the city that he was imprisoned. Sheba Hizir B'Yoiser. He was one who reads the letter. The Alter Rebbe is very cautious in warning the Chassidim. Shelo Yeh Rash. Don't be in your face because there was a disagreement between the Chassidim and the non-Chassidim, and the Misnagdim, the people that were against the Alter Rebbe didn't want his Chassidim to kind of be aggressive in their face about the redemption. The Rebbe says in Yiddish, "Ezol nit zayin kein Sturm." Don't make a big deal. So because the Alter Rebbe wrote a letter about humbling themselves and they shouldn't be, aggressive about the victory of Chassidus and Chassidim, so the Chassidim didn't know how the Alter Rebbe was going to conduct himself on the 19th of Kislev. Maybe he was just going to ignore the fact because he didn't want to make a big deal. And they know for sure, like the custom of Chabad till today, and now it's already established almost worldwide by Jews, not to say the Tachnun prayer on the 19th of Kislev, which would be today, Friday, and Shabbos anyways, we don't say Tachnun. That's all they knew. They knew that we're not going to say Tachnun. Otherwise, what the custom would be for Yitas Kislev, it was the Seder, they had no idea. When the Fetter, the Maharil, why is he called the Fetter, the uncle? Because he's the Alter Rebbe's brother. So the Alter Rebbe's brother, the previous Rebbe called him his uncle because he was his uncle, great uncle. Is Ochiv Shalad Merzaken, the brother of the Alter Rebbe, which was the Baal. He authored the book Sefer She'eris Yehuda. The Alter Rebbe had a brother that he had 4 brothers, but he had one brother that was with him the whole time. He went with him also in the beginning to the Maggid. He didn't make it to the teacher, but he was with him, like they both wanted to go to Chassidus, and he ended up becoming like his greatest minister, so to say, in explaining a lot of things of the teachings of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe's brother wrote a letter, the Mariel, before Yitas Kislev, that Chasidim should not come to the Alter Rebbe for the Shabbos of Yitas Kislev, before Yitas Kislev. Maybe Chasidim were thinking to celebrate it with the Alter Rebbe, so that, though they lived all over the different areas around the city of the Alter Rebbe, they shouldn't come for Shabbos like they would come on a Yom Tov to spend the Yom Tov with the Rebbe. The Rebbe says like this, footnote, side note, V'tkufahi, in those days, kvar batlu omnam hatakonis de liajni, there were special rules that were instituted by the Alter Rebbe in the city of Liajni when he was in Liajni before he moved to Liadi. In the early years, the Alter Rebbe was a very Mesudar person. Mesudar person means he was very organized. Every chassid had his time or her time to come visit the Rebbe. You couldn't come like just show up to the Rebbe's court and want to spend even a Shabbos by the Rebbe. You had to have your designated time, and there was rules and there was schedules, etc. So those limitations kind of were lifted already in those days. It wasn't as strict in the later days. Nevertheless, there was a message that went out specifically for that Shabbos: do not come. Because of the letter of Katainti, that the Alter Rebbe wrote a letter of that we have to humble ourselves and not to be, aggressive about the victory. So because of that, it doesn't say here if the Alter Rebbe's brother wrote the letter in the name of the Alter Rebbe or he wrote it on his own. The Rebbe was concerned that the people would get excited and it would be celebrated in a way that would be unliking to the Alter Rebbe. Obviously, that changed because after a few years, Yitas Kislev became a tremendous holiday. But let's see how the Rebbe is going to tell us the story. Then it became even more the Chasidim Asafik, the doubt. How are we going to do Yitas Kislev? If the message went out from the Rebbe's brother not to come to Liadi to celebrate the Yitas Kislev with the Rebbe, so all he knew is that they're not going to say Tachnun. What else? How else one is supposed to conduct themselves in Yitas Kislev was kind of in the unknown. Okay. There was a chassid Masmilian. There was a chassid called Rabbi Yaakov Reb Masmilan. So he gave a suggestion. Shahaya Hashadar Shekol Chabad. He was not just any chassid, but he was a shadar. Shadar means the messenger, or like the person who shadar is shlucha the Beit Rabbanan. He was the shliach, the emissary of the house of the Rebbe for issues of Kol Chabad, which Kol Chabad is the fund that supports Chasidim in Eretz Yisrael. A message that he wanted that the Chasidim, which were giving money, I guess yearly, for the Kol Chabad fund. Kol Chabad again sent money to Eretz Yisrael because in those days there was no job. You could, if you lived in Israel, you needed to be supported from outside. There was no industry, there was no business. So he said that they should send the monies in as soon as possible. So he could raise the funds and give the money over as the emissary would do to the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe used the money according to his decision. And he figured, so what did Rabbi Yaakov Misselman do? Rabbi Yaakov Misselman said, the Chassidim were concerned. What's going on? The Alter Rebbe doesn't want to celebrate Yitas Kislev. So he figured like this, let everyone send the money in early. I guess usually they would send it in later. Send it in early, so he'll have an excuse to go to the Rebbe because he has to come bring the Rebbe the funds that he raised. And once he's there, he'll work to nullify this decree that the Alter Rebbe wrote this strong letter, Katainti, and let the Chassidim celebrate Yitas Kislev. The Chasidim accepted Rabbi Yaakov's suggestion, and they all sent in the money. And it worked. and he was able to nullify when he went with the money to the Alter Rebbe, and he had an excuse to be by the Alter Rebbe, and he was able to get that the message that went out from the Alter Rebbe's brother not to come Shabbos for Yitas Kislev kind of was lifted. And a lot of Chassidim came the first year. This is all the previous Rebbe telling over in 1937. Chassidim came the first year to spend time with the Rebbe. And they made a big meal. And the Alter Rebbe came down and he fabrang on the first Yitas Kislev. And he said, he said a mimer on the Vart that it says that the next year they made a holiday of I think it's Chanukah, the Shana Bakavam, or it's either Chanukah or Purim. So he kind of alluded to the idea that there was that kind of idea in Yitas Kislev that's the first year it was through efforts of the Chassidim. But the Rebbe is trying to show over here, a lot of times by the Rebbes in Chabad, the Chassidim had to take action. So here also the Chassidim literally had to take action to create the holiday Yitas Kislev. Now, the Rebbe, this is all the Rebbe telling us in 1957 of what he heard from his father in 1937. And the Rebbe said like this: because the Alter Rebbe kind of lifted the decree of not celebrating Yitas Kislev, and he came down and he said a mimer about that the following year they established the holiday. From then on, now, Yitas Kislev Yom Tov, Yitas Kislev became a holiday. Hakayim la'ad l'olmei lamim. That's going to be and is forever. Just like Chanukah is forever. Ramban, as the Nachmanides says, when it says, the Medrash says that the Aaron HaKohen felt bad that he wasn't celebrating the dedication of the temple. So God told him, what you have is greater than what they have. You light the candles. Hakayomim la'ad, that lasts forever. That's what the Medrash says. So the Ramban says, you can't say that what God was kind of appeasing Aaron HaKohen was by telling him that you like the candles. So they sacrifice, you like the candles. Because why would it be greater than the sacrifices?
Backing up when you say the Hanukkah will be forever, Yitas Kislev will be forever. I thought there was only Purim that was going to be left after the Mashiach.
Hanukkah and Purim. Hanukkah and Purim. The holidays that were done in Golis. So he says, the Kivon she'einam bizman ha-Golis, because the candles of the menorah don't light in the Golis, right? The menorah, once the Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple, so we can't be talking about the lights of the temple. This is all the Ramban say. Is Hari Einam Kaimilad, so it's not forever. When God told Aaron HaKohen, all the way in the desert, that yours is greater than theirs, he was referring to the story of Chanukah. Hakayom La'ad, that will last forever. Kumaygam Ken Yitas Kislev, Sheminei Oz Nasi Yom Tov HaKaim La'ad. From that first year, through the efforts of the Chassidim, it became a Yom Tov forever. Yisayrim is that the Rebbe says more than that. Okay, I guess that pasuk Kavum is talking about Chanukah. Since the Alter Rebbe has established and compared Yitas Kislev to Chanukah, Harimuchach, from here is clear. Yitas Kislev Yom Tov Shia Kaim La'ad, it's going to be forever. And Mimamish, those who live in Eretz Yisrael, it's being celebrated all over, not just in Chabad circles, non-Chabad circles, Litvish circles. Everyone's for bringing the holiday with the Alter Rebbe tonight and tomorrow. Leirak Bizman Golis, not only in time of Golis, but here you go, Sharna. Afilu b'bias Mashiach, when Mashiach comes, we're going to celebrate Yitas Kislev, Chanukah and Purim. In Yoni Shal Chanukah, Shayach Mashiach. Now the Rebbe says the idea of Chanukah is very much connected to Mashiach. Why? Shezeu sheneres Chanukah im shmoina neres. The number of candles we light are not like the candles in the menorah. The menorah in the Beis Hamikdash had 7 candles. The menorah of Chanukah has 8 candles. Like in Eretz Hamikdash, not like the Beis Hamikdash that had 7 candles. V'zuhi ma'il nesefes b'neres Chanukah, the God b'neres Hamikdash. And in this way, the candles of Chanukah are greater than the candles of the temple. V'hesem divrei Rambam Hanal, like the Ramban says, that the uniqueness of the blessing of Aaron wasn't the menorah, it was the candles of Chanukah. Keneged kinar shel yimais Mashiach, it's like the harp that's going to be in the days of Mashiach as it's brought down. It's going to be from 8 strings as opposed to 7. The number 8 is very much connected to the number of Mashiach, as is explained, we learned many times in the idea of Parsha Shmini. Then, so Kumoy Kain 2. Yitas Kislev is very much connected to the revelations that are going to be Be'ezer Hashem's in the days of Mashiach. What is unique about the days of Mashiach? That no longer is there going to be a separation between the energy, the light, and the vessel. It's going to become mamish one, which means also nivra imbayra, creation with creator. The physical, the material itself, is going to be revealed, a level of godliness even more than the spirituality. Today we look at that Gashmi is physical and material, of course, and there's the soul inside. When Mashiach comes, we're going to see the value of the Gashmias. It's brought down that in the days of Mashiach, the soul will sustain itself from the body. Not as opposite today, the soul gives life to the body. And how can we transform that the body is going to become not just as great as the soul, but it is going to sustain the soul? This is an idea that's made possible. Through the teachings of Chassidus that reveals the power of Avoida, the power of Archaizer, of the reflecting light, and going in the ways of Chassidus, and in the customs of Chassidus. That when did this all start coming about? It was on Yutes Kislev. Through Chassidus. If you want to know what is the point of the teachings and the ways of Chassidus, is to make one. His achdus means from the word echad. His achdus nivra and boider, creator with creation. What does it mean that the next year they established it? That the holiday of Yutes Kislev became an established holiday, an established concept, celebration of an established concept. The kavua any bottle, something that's established never gets nullified. If something that's floating around, it could get nullified in the laws of bittul. But something that's kavua, that's established, you can't nullify it. Yom Tiv kam be as Mashiach that we will celebrate. As is Hashem, the Yom Tiv Yutes Kislev, the coming Mashiach me'er v'meinu. Then the Rebbe said in that Farbring in the Maimer Ketointi Mikol Achsadim, which is about the idea of a person being small by the kindnesses of God. Now the Rebbe, whatever the Rebbe said in that Maimer, he's going to talk about now in Sif Dalet. We'll pick it up quite fast, I'm sure. Ha'amr li'il ba'Maimer. This that I said before in the Maimer. Laila drasha kasin. I'm not just coming to give a drasha. Drasha means just to talk. Alakavani hi b'pashas pa'al mamish. We're talking about actual, and we'll see what the Rebbe means. Yeshnam ke'ela. There are those. Shetzrichim la'aved avedasim ba'avoides habirurim b'makim ploini u'ploini u'ba'avoida ploinis u'ploinis. There are people that for whatever reason God shows that their job is to go out and do the avoda, the work of birurim, of refining the world in X, Y, and Z place, and doing X, Y, and Z work. Each person according to what God has for them. And certainly for those who have been told, you have to go there to do this. And people like to, the Rebbe is saying, this is in 1957, people are trying to get out of it. They're trying to get out of their responsibility, that they have to go out and do avoda and birurim in certain places. The Rebbe Bepashta simply is Mr. Rabbi talking about people who the Rebbe wanted to send as emissaries to certain cities and they weren't so willing to go. And the Rebbe continues, Pliny Mitaret, so-and-so says, She'ein loy rishoynes linsaya. He doesn't have the visas. You want me to go here? I have no visa, sorry. Pliny Mitaret tirtzachah. Someone else gives another excuse. Another person who the Rebbe asked to become a rabbi, a shliach, educator, someone who's going to go out there and do the work of Chabad, says, well, Rabbi, I want to be a businessman or a businesswoman. Ukamai came and he gave talmidim not only to married people, but also students. We asked that they should go to it, they should uproot themselves from Brooklyn and go and establish yeshiva in another place. And the Rebbe says they're not going. They say they want to be by the ark. The ark is in 770, so they don't want to leave 770. The Rebbe says, what's the point? This applies to everyone. You don't have, the Rebbe is not just talking to shliach. A person who doesn't want to do what they're supposed to do to get the job done for Hashem. That we forget, or they forget. Today it's not about being in holy places. Today the job is go out there and engage and refine and elevate. We need to refine and elevate the concealments and the hiddenness. You want to know how to get the essence of God? It's not going to be standing by the ark. It's going out and engaging, like the Rebbe says, turning the goof, the body, into something holy. As explained in the Maimer. The Rebbe says, I would have assumed that I shouldn't have to explain this, that your person should know, obviously, that where do you get the essence is in avoda. There's nothing greater. The Rebbe is basically saying, well, a person wants to stand by the ark. A person says, I'm not leaving the kotel. We once young people in the shul, and we were told, hold on, Aaron. We were told, what are you guys doing here? Go out and change the world. Let me just finish this paragraph and you get to your question. There's nothing greater than going, engaging, and refining. It's, we're telling you, here's a good place. You have such an opportunity here. And you'll have parnasa from it, you'll have livelihood. Each one tries to find to get out of the responsibility. Yes, Aaron.
I read somewhere, and this contradicts what you just said. It says you shouldn't live where you can't find a minion. And if you're going to places with no religion, Jews are, but there might be one or two or three Jews, then how do you get your minion?
You're right, and that's one approach. But that's at the end of the day that's taking care of yourself. That's saying what's best for my spirituality. That's not asking what God wants you to do. Sometimes God needs a person out there for those 2-3 people who need their candles lit, they need their menorah lit. That's what the Rebbe wanted from people. Self-sacrifice, not just physical self-sacrifice, spiritual self-sacrifice. You're right. On paper, you're right. But what about those 2-3 people who need to be inspired, need to be elevated?
And then what? Do you try to get them to move?
No, you go out there and you start to establish until you have a minion.
No, but once you're saying make a minion with all those
create
people.
A minion, make a minion. Ubesayfer shel davar. And then the Rebbe says, what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do? When you have difficulties in making a living, you're coming to ask the Rebbe for a blessing, right? So you didn't want to do what you're supposed to do, and then you go out and say, I need Rebbe, I need a bracha for parnasa. This is the Rebbe quotes a famous idea, a pasuk, but it's based on the teachings of the Rebbe Marash. That a person themselves go off the derech, off the way, and then they come and they have a hard heart on God. They blame God. They do what they're not supposed to do, and then they come to God with kindness. They come to God with claims. You were told to go someplace, to do something. Your mission in life is to go out there and change the world, and you change it. You don't want to do what you're supposed to do. You yourself are trying to make a spin the rhetoric, the narrative. And then you come to God with complaints. Where's my livelihood? The Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe continued. The Rebbe stopped for a second and he said, the Rebbe says, the idea, it says that you don't need wisdom for bread. It's a famous statement. The Rebbe is not looking to be hard on anyone. He hopes that everyone, you weren't, the Rebbe basically is alluding, you didn't do a smart thing. You weren't a chacham, you weren't wise to know what you're supposed to do in life. But the Rebbe says, he doesn't wish them ill, that everyone who, even if you made wrong mistakes in your life, God should give you parnasa. The Rebbe is saying, I'm not talking about what they should have. I'm talking about why are you demanding from God when God's saying, I had other plans for you. Before you didn't listen to what God wanted from you to do, and now it means your avoda was to go out there and change the world. Now you say to God, why haven't you blessed me? The Rebbe says, it seems like he's laughing. The Rebbe says that God is God. Yes, God can take anything, but he wants a little bit of straight talk also. You can't just keep on spinning. You can't spin God the whole time. The Rebbe is not looking to punish. The Rebbe is not looking to wish ill on anyone. He hopes everyone should get blessed with what they need. Not necessarily the smartest people have bread. Whatever happened has happened. It's too late. The Rebbe's point is going forward. And people should try to change. It means even if you made choices in your life for a little bit of a farbrengen of Yitas Kislev, even if you made choice in your life that maybe you thought when you were younger you could have done better choices maybe in your avoda and your work. So, but right now you could make pivotal moves. Maybe you can't make huge changes, but try to take advantage of every situation to try to do avoda of birurim, of elevating and engaging people. The Rebbe says, "Hega ba'atzmecha." Imagine, "E'im zehu inyan v'tafkid shelanu li'es munachim kol hazman b'gashmius b'parnas ha'gashmius." Is this why God created us? That a whole day we should be thinking about material things and material livelihood. And because we want to engage, and we think our whole life is just about getting parnasa, getting a livelihood, sometimes we do things that are beneath us. We're not just talking about beneath us spiritually. Even beneath us, we don't feel good about ourselves that we had to do that. When it comes to God, we only give him a few minutes. Hey, Lorraine, a business for a Jew, what is a Jew supposed to be doing? Is to do things for God. That when you have a nice apartment and a wife and husband and nice things, what does it mean? These are spiritual things. You're supposed to have spiritual, beautiful things for God. And when your focus and your drive is to make a spiritual place for God and a spiritual vessels for God, so then that's going to translate and bring material blessings for the person. The Rebbe says, how's it possible? The Rebbe is talking very sharp. The Rebbe says, instead of doing what you could have done in a more refined way, you're taking upon yourself a job, working for a person that maybe you shouldn't be working for, wearing clothing maybe you shouldn't be wearing. So you should have a business as opposed to maybe you're supposed to be doing something more spiritual. The Rebbe quotes that the fourth Rebbe Chabad, the Rebbe Rash, once explained, there's different types of garments a person garments themselves with. There's headgear, right? Hat, scarf, covering of the head. There's body clothing. And there's foot clothing, like shoes or socks. Right? If you look, what is the more refined? You can't put a shoe on your head, right? That kind of quality of material won't go on your head. So a clothing for the head and the body have to be more fine, more dark, more soft. Shame it's semer or pishtim, you make them out of wool or linen. Mashenki and levush regel, when it comes to shoes, through levush gas, it's a hard garment. Mi'or behem, it's made from leather. Va'ad le'erdelaim, galashin, it's made out of rubber, like galoshes, when you wear in the snow. Those in New York. So you could choose what kind of clothing do you want to wear. Do you want to be a person who garments themselves in soft clothing, in spiritual that I was talking about, your choices in life? Or do you want to be a person who has to get into shoes, hard things? And if you're going to go out to the world and do things that maybe are so to say you're not comfortable with, you have to put on 2 pairs of galashim. Galashim they don't have them anymore, but back in the day, even in my days, they were like a rubber covering you put on your shoes to keep them dry. A person has to go out there and engage. A Jew's job is to be, the focus is go out there and try to change the world spiritually. You shouldn't be preoccupied constantly in your own parnasa, your own just livelihood, just for the sake of material. The Rebbe said at the same time, on the other extreme, your job in this world is not to try to find the most spiritual place. Oiris is lights, revelations. Your focus has to be, how could I refine the world? Basically, the Rebbe is saying is, there's 3 choices in life. There's a person who says, okay, listen, I need to survive, so I'm going to do whatever I can to survive. I don't care about the rest of the world. The second thing is a person says, I just want to be in a spiritual place. Where's the holiest place that I could be? And the third, and the middle ground is, where could I do what I'm supposed to be doing? What does God want from me? What's my job in this world? How could I make the world a better place? And that is to go out and engage in the world. Go out there and refine the concealments and the darknesses of the world. Uvimela, the Rebbe says, if you know there's a place, the place could be inside your own house, the place could be inside you. There's a place that's dark and concealed. Why are you not going there? On the contrary, if it's a really dark place, surely you have to go there. Don't exit off your list. Go out there and engage the darkness. According to the pain is going to be the success. As we said in the Maimer, when a person goes out and engages the world to elevate the world, and it takes a lot of self-nullification. Shiftless, hey Danny, and to shiftless in the word shuffle, to lower yourself. Tiny means to make yourself small. Then you're really going to get the lights and the revelations. There's two ways to get the lights and the revelations: to go to the lights and revelations, then you could be like a bug, you're going to burn yourself, or you could go do what you're supposed to do, and then you're going to get the real lights and the revelations. Then you're going to get the revelations of the essence. The essence. And then the Rebbe said to sing the song Avinu Malkeinu, which is a song of the Alter Rebbe. Yes, Aaron.
When I see Chabad go to these, what you just said, they seem to all be rabbis. So if we're not all rabbis, how can we start a religious revival in a place that's not?
First of all, you could participate, you could do things in your own space. It's about focus. What is your focus? Any person can engage another person and look at every opportunity, every engagement you have in the world as an opportunity to bring godliness, to reveal godliness, say a good word. It's all about where's your focus? What are you trying to do in this world? When you're trying to find so there's so much work to do in Brooklyn, and so much work to do in Manhattan, so much work to do in Seattle. It doesn't make a difference if there's people there already. There's plenty of people that no one's said a good, nice word to ever. So many people have never heard of what an aleph is. So many people have never heard what Kislev is. You have so many opportunities to engage people. You meet people. Sometimes you can meet people the rabbi can never meet. The rabbi never meets those people. No rabbi can meet every person. So everyone has their opportunities to go out there and engage the world. That's the point. The Rebbe says, "Ala pasuk Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Meguri Aviv be'eretz Canaan." That's this week's parsha. When it says that Yaakov went to the Meguri Aviv, the place of his parents, meaning his forefathers, Avram and Yitzchak, in the land of Canaan. Mefarish Rav Magid today. By the way, Yitzchak Kislev is also the yard site of the holy Magid the Mizrich, the teacher of the Alter Rebbe. Vayeshev Yaakov. What does it mean Vayeshev Yaakov? So the Mizrich Magid teaches, She Yaakov hoye b'matzav shel yeshiva ve'ikva ba'aretz. Yaakov kind of settled himself in the land. Binyanim artzim, in earthy things. Why did he do a yeshiva? Why did he put himself into worldly things? To gather, from the word agur bekayitz, to gather in, like they gather in the summer all the crops. As in Tutzis HaKedusha, the holy sparks in the physical things. He got involved in earthly things to get out the sparks. He went to take things from the fields to bring it to his father, meaning the Father in heaven. Even though when a person has to lower themselves and settle themselves into earthly things, it's a descent. Like we said before, you're leaving the holy place, you're leaving the ark. That's only temporary. And specifically only that way. That's how you get true elevation. Canaan. What is Canaan? Canaan it's all based on the teachings of, interesting, the teachings of the Alter Rebbe, it's based on the teachings of his teacher, of course. Canaan milashim mischar. Canaan it's brought down in a verse that there's, the Canaan is the businessman. Like it says, when Mashiach comes, there's no longer going to be that kind of dealings of the Kanani in the house of God. But that's only when Mashiach comes. Now we've got to go into business, meaning business of finding sparks. And what is business? How does a businessman or a businesswoman go about doing business? Very rarely, right? Can you start a business without investment? Every business requires some sort of investment. You invest something, time, money, energy, knowledge, in order to get a return. The idea is to be mefazer, to give, like to spread out, to be I would give abundance of investment to be able to get in more. What is the lesson? Our job is not to look to do great things. What's the biggest thing I could do? We have to go and gather sparks. The varer to refine, and to elevate the spiritual sparks that are in the world. Right? You don't wake up in the morning and say, "Well, how can I do the biggest thing today?" Like back to your question, Aaron. You're saying, "Oh, I'm not a rabbi." It's not only about rabbis. There's Baruch Hashem. Unfortunately, there's been sparks that have been left for the past 2,500 years. If it's just up to the rabbis, we'd be here for another, God forbid. Everyone has to participate. Why do we have to go out there and put our time into collecting all the sparks? For our Father in heaven. Israel, like it says, our rabbis have taught us, Yisrael nimshalu dvoira. The Jewish people are like a bee. Ma hadvoira hazois kol ma shehi misageles lebaleha. Kach kol ma Yisrael misaglin mitzvahs v'maisim tovim he misaglin lavim shevishmayim. Just like the bee brings everything back to their mate, all the I guess the pollen and stuff. So to the Jewish people, all the good deeds and mitzvahs is to be brought back for the sake of our Father in heaven. Our motivation to serve God or to do mitzvahs is not for the reward, the gashmis or baruchnis, whether the reward be spiritual or material. We have to give ourselves over to our Father in heaven. That's the point. The point is to go and do what we have to do for our Father in heaven. And the Rebbe says, and in order to affect within yourself, how as a person, how do we guard ourselves from not getting involved? Penias means agendas. How do we avoid a personal agenda? It's very hard. Humans are always involved in a personal agenda. So how do we avoid making our avodas Hashem into a personal agenda? Rebbe says, so when a person does something that's great, gedolim, big things, so your agenda is there, your kavod, your honor, your respect, people acknowledge you. So doing simple things is how you avoid bringing the agenda into the conversation. When a person is dealing with big things, you're the intellectual, you understand, then agendas could get mixed in. How do you make sure you have a clean service to God, without any personal agenda? Go find simple things to do for God. As my father-in-law, the previous Rebbe said, the simplicity of the simple person, the simple yid, that connects to the simplicity of God. If you're complicated, you get involved with complications of God. You want to get to the simplicity of God, the essence. It comes from simple people doing simple things. So too in our case. The simplicity of just doing a simple avoda, that connects the yid, the person, with the simplicity of the essence of God. This is the uniqueness of the service of accepting upon themselves the yoke. That's why the Jewish people call it the army of God. The number one rule of a soldier is you got to take orders. No one's asking your opinion. If you take orders from the person above you, the soldier above you. This is what it means that Yaakov settled. Yeshiva is also, right, when a person's standing, you're higher. Yeshiva is to sit down, you're going lower. In Migure, to gather the sparks for Aviv, for his Father in heaven. You want to know how to get to your Father? Make all your service about God, not about you. Going into the earth. Doing simple things. Don't be smart aleck. Pshetlach is, kind of trying to rewrite the rhetoric, the narrative. And when you do simple things, you make your avoda pure and there's no agenda. And then you'll connect yourself to the essence of your Father. The Rebbe says, meaning God, the Rebbe says that we spoke before in Sif Dalid, that a person has to engage in the avodah, like we said before, of birurim, of engaging the world, of elevating the darkness. The varas halamis vastarim, to elevate the concealments and the darkness. So that's the only way we can get to the essence. So the Rebbe is going back. Like I said before, obviously, Sif Zayin, there was a separation. That was the end of the Sikha, and they started to sing. Now the Rebbe is talking again, that the person has to do avodah without any, with accepting the yoke. Doiveri Mishu, Shahaya Davar Nachin, Shikain Barabonis B'Makim Pliny. The Rebbe said, I spoke to someone who would be a good idea that person should become a rabbi. Doesn't say if the Rebbe told him or the person asked the Rebbe, a rabbi in a certain location. The person didn't want to not listen. He's chacham, so he came up with an idea. He went to that place. The person, the Rebbe suggested that someone become a rav at a certain place. The person didn't want to be a person who doesn't listen. So he made his behavior as such that the people of the community that wouldn't want him as a rabbi. So you can't blame me, they don't want me. Then he came back to the Rebbe and says, I'm ready to be a rabbi, the community doesn't want me. But they don't want me. The Rebbe wasn't a fool. The Rebbe knew exactly what the guy was doing. The Rebbe says, don't be a smart aleck. Don't try to fool God. Tell God, I wanted to do avodas abirurim, but it's I'm a hard person to engage in. I feel even you think you're really smart. The halacha is that a chacham gadol could walk before the high priest. I love ladas. That's the halacha. I love ladas. You have to know. Shehagdima shaloi ledaitai yichayla liyis b'negei lechol shar nyanim. Al negei beis hamikdash because says maybe that because you're smart, you go before the Kohen Gadol and other things. When it comes to the temple and the Holy of Holies and making a deer for God in this world, a resting place, where is there a real resting place for God is in the temple and the Holy of Holies. That's the bottom line of everything. Smart people didn't go into the Holy of Holies. You got to be a high priest. So maybe in the street, you'll be able to walk first and you'll get respected first because you're smarter than the Kohen Gadol. But you're not going to get into the temple and you're not going to get into the Holy of Holies. The Rebbe says maybe even Jerusalem they won't let you in. Why? Obviously the Rebbe means something about the laws of purity. Even if you're so smart, when it comes to getting the job done, right? You can fool God up to a point. But if you want to get the job done, I love this batul the Kohen Gadol. You have to be nullified to the Kohen Gadol. Be nullified to the job, being nullified to the Rebbe who told you what you should be doing, and not to try to be a smart aleck and get out of the responsibility. Let's just finish this little piece here. This we see from our father Yaakov. Yaakov's whole life was engaging in the elevation, in the separation of holiness and unholiness. He could have tried to talk himself out of going to Charan. He went to Charan, his uncle, which was a tough place. He did a tough job. He had to work for his father-in-law. It's always hard to work for your father-in-law, especially if your father-in-law is loving. And he toiled hard. He talks to Lavan of how hard he worked. He ate that he didn't eat at night. He didn't need to sleep by night. He didn't sleep. He ate. It was horrible the job working for him, but he did what he had to do. It wasn't just toiling. He had physical pain from it. Even the Alter Rebbe brings a proof that even though a person is not allowed to pain themselves, you're not allowed to hurt yourself on purpose. Is not for you. It's not your body, it's God's body. You can't hurt yourself. The Alter Rebbe learns from Yaakov, right? Maybe halachically, it's a good question. Maybe halachically, you're not allowed to take a job that's physically toiling on your body. A lot of people do jobs that we know that they say truckers, for instance, sit for hours in a truck. It's not healthy. There's a lot of jobs that we take, and maybe halachically you're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to hurt yourself. So how am I allowed to take a job that could be damaging to my body? But we see from the Alter Rebbe Pasans, you're allowed to do it if that's your job. When we see that from Yaakov, Yaakov literally toiled and hurt himself in working for his father-in-law. Yaakov could have said, "What do I have to go to Charan for?" Hey, Nemes Yaakov Esav Einim Yochel Nis Biachad. Okay, I get it. Me and Esav need to separate. Send Esav away. Why are you sending me away? I'll learn in yeshiva. Anyways, I learn in yeshiva. And Esav is anyways going around and splurging around the world. So let him go away. Why should I leave? Yaakov didn't ask any questions. He was told by his father and mother to go there, and he went. He accepted the yoke. And even though he accepted the yoke, he could have been upset about it. He went with joy. He picked up his feet and ran. And because the bottom line was it didn't bring him down, specifically Yaakov has a full bed, meaning say all his children are Torah children. And all the things, the wealth that he got, only because he went to Charan, he never would have had that had he stayed away. That's what it means in life to become a spiritual business person. The reward of it. If you go out there and refine the love in your engagement, the Esav in your engagement, he was able to affect that Esav kissed him with the full heart. That's not just that you become a spiritual wealthy, but you become material, physically wealthy. Go out there and do what you're supposed to do. What God wants you to do, you're going to have spiritual wealth and physical wealth. Even more than you had before. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish you all a good Yom Tov, first of all, and good Shabbos. The message is clear. Go out there, find a person, engage a person, elevate, and all your questions, all your brachas that you need, all the blessings that you need are going to come through that way. Going to do what you have to do, look what Hashem wants you to do, and then you're going to see how everything works out in your life, Be'ezus Hashem.